Front and Center. Front and Center. A focus on important and significant developments affecting the lives of Filipinos, not only in the Philippines, but also those living and working around the world. Join us in Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome to Front and Center, where we focus on developments in the Philippines, legislation that provides policies and directions that strives to promote a better economy for the country, issues that concern the welfare and well-being of every Filipino. All of these and more will be Front and Center. And you can watch this program live on our Facebook page, Radyo Pilipinas World Service, and you can catch up this episode of Front and Center through our YouTube channel. And you can catch or hear our broadcast live on our audio streaming at Evox PBS receiver app. So join us for another edition of Front and Center with your host, Jerome Toledo.
Front and Center. Front and Center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
And this morning, Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. said plunder, anti-graft, or indirect bribery charges may be filed against former Speaker or House Speaker Martin Romualdez and former party list Congressman Zaldico. In a video statement uploaded online, President Marcos Jr. said the former House Speaker and former Representative Zaldico may face the mentioned charges, which is the plunder, anti-graft, and the indirect bribery, if evidence is found following the completion of information gathering by the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, or ICI, and the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, regarding their alleged involvement in anomalous flood control projects. Here's the President.
Ang ICI at saka ang DPWH ay lahat ng nakuha nila na impormasyon ay ire-refer, ibibigay na sa Ombudsman para imbestigahan ng Ombudsman. Ito ay tungkol sa mga impormasyon ng dating Speaker Martin Romualdez at saka ni Zaldico. Pag nakita lahat ng ebidensya, baka mag-file ng kaso ng plunder o anti-graft o indirect bribery.
You just heard President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. And also this morning in the recent developments, a case referral were filed by DPWH and the ICI, or the Independent Commission for Infrastructure, at the Ombudsman today, and the case is still ongoing, so we will watch out for those developments. But in the meantime, switching to another topic regarding the issue at the National Irrigation Administration, as the Irrigation Administration presented a proposed budget of around 54 billion pesos for the next year's budget cycle. The spending plan is primarily geared towards construction, rehabilitation, expansion, and monitoring of irrigation systems, as it emphasized that if there is no water, nothing will grow. So that's basically that's how the irrigation system works. So on the budget, the major line items included here are the following. So that's 10 billion pesos allocated for national irrigation systems, as well as 5.02 billion pesos for communal irrigation system, 630.61 million pesos for other irrigation structures, as well as 851 million for extension and expansion of existing systems. Meanwhile, for budgets for establishing pump irrigation systems, we have 5.22 billion pesos. And lastly, for special irrigation sub-programs, NIA allocated 2.1 billion pesos. And besides this, an allocation of 50 million pesos for transparency measures. That's example, development of an online dashboard to display project timelines, budget, contractors, and also geotag progress photos. So meaning to say, NIA will establish some sort of a transparency portal to monitor the budget. And at the same time, during the Senate Senate plenary budget session yesterday. Several senators pressed the administration or the National Irrigation Administration on project delays, contract quality, maintenance, and accountability. So, Senator Erwin Tulfo asked why there are so few new irrigation projects listed in the 2026 budget of NIA, suggesting that the agency may be overly focused on rehabilitation rather than expanding its projects, particularly these irrigation projects across the country. And also, Senator Rafi Tulfo, the brother of the Senator Erwin Tulfo, challenged the NIA's leadership over the allegedly defective small reservoir project in Bulacan, showing evidence of poor repair and or maintenance post-typhoon, and said the NIA chief should step down if these negligence are proven true. And some senators also flagged the delayed and irregular execution of the Tarlac Dam project, asking the agency for explanation or for further explanation on what taxpayers' fund has been spent and why the project remains behind schedule. These senators are investigating these projects being delayed at the NIA. And in response, the agency defended itself by saying there is no anomaly in the budget. But notably, nevertheless, Senator Juan Miguel Subiri, which is the majority leader, moved to suspend the consideration of the NIA budget during the session until the agency satisfactorily addressed these issues. So we will have an interview regarding that later in this in the station, maybe the next program, so that the NIA will answer all of these points raised in the Senate plenary budget session yesterday. And also, the administration of Philippine President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. assured the public that proceeds from the auction of 7 luxury vehicles worth over 103 million pesos and seized from contractors Pacifico and Sara or Cesara Discaya will be remitted to the National Treasury as part of its anti-corruption campaign. In a press briefing in Malacanang, Presidential Communications Office Undersecretary Claire Castro said the Bureau of Customs began auctioning of the luxury vehicles of the Discayas yesterday morning. That was held in Manila, and that auction underscored the president's resolve to hold erring officials accountable and stamp out illegal activities in government. According to Yusek Castro, the auction marks an initial step in recovering stolen funds, with the BOC also investigating 14 construction firms linked to the scandal. And the vehicles were confiscated due to irregularities in importation and documentation. And the Discayas are among the top contractors implicated in the corruption surrounding flood control projects. And those vehicles that was auctioned yesterday at the customs in Manila were 2022 Toyota Tundra and also the 2023 Toyota Sequoia and 2022 Bentley Bentayga and the 2023 Rolls-Royce Cullinan, and as well as 2019 Mercedes-Benz G500 Brabus, or 2022 Mercedes-Benz G63 AMG, and a 2021 Lincoln Navigator L. So, and at the same time, we will have a discussion with the customs as it's nearly end of the year. And there's a report that customs might not reach its revenue target, which is nearly 1 trillion pesos for this year. So how possible for the customs to reach its target? So we will have a discussion with the Bureau of Customs later in the program. But first, we will have a very short break here on the program Front and Center. We'll be right back here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
This is a public service announcement.
Isang paalala mula sa National Telecommunications Commission, National Capital Region o NTC-NCR. ang kanilang Oplan Contra Text Scams. Oplan Contra Text Scams. Binabalaan ng publiko na sakaling kayo ay makatanggap ng kakaibang text messages sa mga di kilalang numero o di kaya ay mga text messages na may kahina-hinalang mga link. Huwag pansinin, huwag pindutin, huwag i-click ang link.
Huwag i-click ang link.
Ipagbigay alam agad sa NTC website ntc.gov.ph o kaya'y sumulat sa kanilang email na contratextcam@gmail.com. Sa mga panahong ito, huwag padaya, maging wais na madla. Makibahagi sa Oplan Contra Text Scam. This is a public service announcement from PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, and Radyo Pilipinas.
Mas pinadali na ang government transactions sa tulong ng eGov.ph Super App. Pwedeng-pwede mo nang magawa ang lahat ng ito. I-download ang eGov app sa iyong smartphone o tablet mula sa App Store o Google Play Store. Pagkatapos, ilagay ang iyong mobile number at i-authenticate gamit ang one-time PIN o OTP para marehistro ang iyong account. Saka ilagay ang iyong mga pangunahing impormasyon at kumpletuhin ang facial recognition technology para sa verifikasyon ng iyong pagkakakilanlan. Para sa mas mabilis at mas maayos na serbisyong panggobyerno, gamitin na ang eGov.ph Super App.
Service announcement.
Discipline is the key. Umiwas sa aksidente sa daan. Ang pagmamaneho ay may kaakibat na responsibilidad, hindi basta mapaandar lang ang sasakyan. Kilatisin ang sarili, ang kahandaan sa manibela, siguruhing inyong konsentrasyon ay hindi magagambala. Importante rin na ating laging isipin, init ng ulo ay huwag pairalin, bagkus kaligtasan ng lahat ang siyang dapat unahin. Isang mahalagang paalala mula sa Presidential Broadcast Service at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
This is a public service announcement from PBS, Presidential Broadcast Service, at Radyo Pilipinas, Radyo Publiko 738.
Mabilisang trivia, dagdag talino. Heto na ang Dagling Kaalaman.
Alam nyo ba na tuwing ikalawang linggo ng Oktubre, ipinagdiriwang natin ang National Mental Health Week? Diniklara ito sa bisa ng proklamasyon bilang 452 noong 1994 upang palawakin ang kamalayan tungkol sa kahalagahan ng mental health. Mahalaga ito dahil tulad ng ating pisikal na kalusugan, kailangan ding alagaan ang ating isip at damdamin. Kaya ngayong Oktubre, maglaan ng oras para kumustahin ang sarili at ang mga mahal sa buhay. Tandaan, ang malusog na pag-iisip ay pundasyon ng mas masayang buhay.
Kaunting kaalaman na malaking dagdag talino. Abangan muli ang susunod na Dagling Kaalaman.
Paano nga ba mag-register para magkaroon ng schedule sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center? Narito ang mga dapat gawin. Gamit ang iyong mobile device, pumunta sa eGov.ph app. Pwede itong i-download mula sa Apple App Store o sa Google Play Store. Gumawa ng account. Ilagay ang email address, valid mobile number, pagkatapos ay makakatanggap ka ng one-time code sa iyong email. Gamitin ang code sa eGov app para sa verification ng iyong account at ng mga impormasyong ibinigay. Congratulations! Meron ka ng eGov.ph app account. Pwede mo na ma-access ang iba't ibang serbisyo ng gobyerno kabilang ang mga serbisyo sa Bagong Pilipinas Presidential Action Center.
Mabilisang trivia, dagdag talino. Heto na ang Dagling Kaalaman.
Madalas ka bang magpuyat at kulang sa tulog? Lumalabas sa pag-aaral na ang madalas sa pagpupuyat at laging kulang sa tulog ay nakakaapekto sa iyong kalusugan, partikular sa iyong puso at metabolismo. Maaari itong maging sanhi ng hypertension, mataas na kolesterol, stroke, heart attack, obesity, diabetes at iba pa. Kaya tandaan, sleep well, live well.
Kaunting kaalaman na malaking dagdag talino. Abangan muli ang susunod na Dagling Kaalaman.
Itinuloy na po natin ang zero balance billing. Libre po. Ibig sabihin, ang serbisyo sa basic accommodation sa ating mga DOH na ospital, wala nang babayaran ang pasyente.
Ang dami pong challenge, hindi po namin alam kung saan namin kukunin, ganon, nag-iisip kung paano namin mababayaran. Siyempre po, masayang masaya, super saya po dahil na zero billing po kami. Opo, malaking ano po talaga, malaking tulong po. Mabilis lang din po.
Bayad na ang bill ninyo. Uulitin ko, wala nang kailangan bayaran ng pasyente basta sa DOH Hospital dahil bayad na po ang bill ninyo.
Naiyak ako kasi sobrang saya. Maraming salamat po, Mr. President Bongbong Marcos Jr. Hindi kami nagkamali ng taong ihinalal.
Front and center. Front and center. Here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Welcome back to Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Still with me, Jerome Toledo. And did you know that the Bureau of Customs has a nearly 1 trillion peso revenue target for this year? So regardless of that revenue target, there are reports saying that the collections declined due to the ongoing rice import ban and also lower global oil prices. So how possible it is for customs to hit its target? And also we will be talking about the government's intensified anti-corruption drive, including the recent auction of seized luxury vehicles, which is seen as an important step toward recovering stolen public funds. So the BOC conducted an auction yesterday featuring those seized automobiles from the Discayas. And also we will have the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Bureau of Customs, Attorney Chris Bendijo, as he walked us through the challenges, reforms, and the next steps for the BOC and the National Treasury. I think we have now on the line the Bureau of Customs Deputy Chief of Staff, Attorney Chris Bendijo. Good morning, Attorney Bendijo. Thank you so much again for joining us in the program, Front and Center on Radyo Pilipinas World Service.
Hi, Jerome. Good morning. Greetings from Commissioner Ariel Pomoceno and the rest of the employees of the Bureau of Customs.
Thank you so much. All right. So thank you so much for accepting our invitation. So my question here, particularly meeting the revenue target. Bureau of Customs aims to hit this year's revenue target, which is 958.7 billion pesos. And for the record, Attorney Bendijo, how far are we now in our revenue target?
On a monthly basis, we're monitoring something above 90% in terms of reaching that collection target, or maybe around a high 80%. But we have to point out a few things. First, the targets were set prior to some intervening events that transpired. For example, the target was set prior to the importation ban on rice. The target was set prior to the effects of the tariffs imposed by the US, the issues on collection of VAT and excise. That's why we understand that while the target must have been set under different parameters, we are not giving up on this target. We realize that this is really an uphill battle. But what we're trying to do is to make more efficient our collection efforts, meaning to say that we reduce leakages so that we are able to still somewhat meet the targets despite all these setbacks. If you can imagine, from the rice importation ban alone, that would be somewhere in the perhaps billions of potential losses because of the effect of that importation ban. So clearly, we are facing an uphill battle, but the remedy that we are trying to employ is more efficient collection efforts.
More efficient collection efforts, Attorney Bendijo. Can you specify what effort that the BOC will conduct or do?
Well, in terms of our processes, we have to make sure that we are efficient in the collection of revenues. You have to understand that we have a duty of reminding our stakeholders from the time that of their lodging of the entries to the actual date of collection for the revenues generated. There is a lull there. So making that period shorter, or at least making a conscious effort of reminding our stakeholders to pay on time, that would really maximize the efficiency of our collection. We can also look at whether it is a post-clearance audit mechanism. So the ability of our PICAG, our post-clearance audit group, to efficiently collect those subject of their audit after the importation has been completed, we are also ramping up efforts there. So it's really not a singular approach. It's the new leadership of Commissioner Ariel Nepomuceno looking into each and all processes of the Bureau of Customs and making sure that there are no lapses, there are no gaps, it is being efficiently done. No? Of recent, for example, we have received reports of prolonged breaks with respect to our examiners in the MICP, and that's something that we're looking into, because any delay has a snowball effect. And again, this will be on top of the setbacks that I mentioned regarding the rice importation ban, regarding the tariffs imposed by the US. So any microscopic leakage will really have a tremendous effect in the overall. That's why we are looking into all processes and making sure that all processes are efficiently running.
Great. All right. So, nonetheless, Customs is confident that it will reach its target before the year ends.
Yes, we are hoping still for additional trades, additional transactions, especially that we are really nearing the Christmas season. And we're hoping for, again, these processes to ramp up as we approach the Christmas season. Just another example of recent, we are having this particular issue about our balikbayan boxes. So really, the approach here should be looking at all processes of the Bureau of Customs, making sure that it's properly running, it's properly manned by the correct people. That's where we are now. We really have to struggle, but the attitude of Commissioner Ariel is not to give up on the target set despite all these setbacks, but rather to maximize our efforts to make sure efficiency rate is high.
Okay. So, Attorney Bendio, if I got this point right, so what sectors or specific commodities are now being monitored to offset losses from rice tariffs? Since we mentioned about the losses that the customs has incurred due to the rice tariff or the reduced rice tariff rate.
Well, definitely when we talk about monitoring of products, definitely your petroleum is still there. Now, with respect to the effects on agricultural products, it's more of us again making sure that our enforcement efforts are in tune. As we've observed in the recent months, there has been rampant attempts to smuggle into the country agricultural products, misdeclared products, and all of these would really have a potential effect in the local economy. So again, ramping up these efforts, especially in line with the new law, the anti-economic sabotage law, this is something that we have to look into. But like what you said, there is really no direct replacement as to the effect of rice importation ban. So we cannot simply say that because of a ban on the rice importation, we will look at other products to replace, because the universe of that cycle is already complete, regardless of the ban, regardless of the importation of rice. So it's really us again looking at all efforts of the BOC, all processes, regardless of the product, may it be petroleum, may it be other agricultural products, and us making sure that all efforts are efficient. We have this transparency drive, the anti-corruption drive, hoping that this will boost investor and stakeholder confidence so that more transactions would occur. And of course, that would generate revenues for the country.
I wonder, Attorney Bendijo, if increasing rates is involved here, or is at the table as options here, Attorney Bendijo.
We'll have to study that carefully, Jerome. No, if you look at the trend, the number of transactions, the influx of our importations is there is a slow decline. But what we are observing is that because of these efforts to maximize efficiency in collection, the revenue generated is not a direct proportionate reduction as well. Meaning to say that while reduction of transactions, importations is a decline, a steady decline, the revenue generated um, is not that a direct proportion as to the reduction of transactions. So I think we can credit the efforts again for efficiency, that we are able to somewhat manage the revenues generated on a month-to-month basis and still surviving and still somewhat reaching the targets despite the decline in transactions.
All right. Okay. Just to clarify of what you mentioned earlier, Attorney Bendijo. So that's BOC has achieved 80% of target of the revenue target. Is that correct?
Yes, we're in that region.
Okay. 80% of the 958.7 billion revenue target for this year. Is that
I'm sorry.
correct?
Hello.
Oh yeah. So BOC has reached 80% of the 958.7 billion pesos.
Let me be quite specific with the numbers.
Yes,
If we're looking at the emerging annual for the 2025, as you've mentioned, the target is 958 billion. We are at 87%. Insofar as of November 20. So we are on the high 80% range. But again, as I've mentioned, if you will look at the effects of all the setbacks from the rice importation, that clearly explains the difference as to the targets set for 2025. May it be the emerging annual or the BESF annual.
All right. So nonetheless, it's still it's getting there, Attorney Bendijo.
That's right. And again, hopefully we'll have some catch-up plans for the month of November and December. And we're hoping really that as we approach the Christmas season, we can really catch up with all of these transactions. Again, with all of these efficiency measures, transparency measures, anti-corruption measures, we're hoping to restore confidence for our stakeholders to conduct more transactions.
All right. Okay. So, having said that, Attorney Bendijo, is the Development Budget Coordination Committee in the loop regarding with this revenue targets discussion?
Of course. Even prior to the transfer of Secretary Ralph from the DOF as to presently the Executive Secretary, we have been in constant communication with all other government agencies, including the DBCC. We have pointed out all of these difficulties, especially with respect to the effects of the rice importation ban, the effects on potential losses with respect to the effects, again, of perhaps issues on VAT, on excise tax, the effects on reduction of transactions arising from imposition of tariffs from the United States. We have pointed this out perhaps to recalibrate targets to be set for 2026.
All right. Okay. Well said. Okay. So nonetheless, it's 87%, and BOC is confident that its revenue target will be reached before the year ends, and that's a good thing about this issue, that the BOC is committed to achieve its targets for this year. Anyway, switching to the auction of the cars or automobiles of the Discayas. So now, because we have the BOC has sold 3 luxury vehicles that has generated over 38 million pesos. So what factors led to that? As we say, failed bidding. I'm sorry if I use that word. Failed bidding for the other 4 units, or Is the BOC open for recomputation of floor prices to encourage more bidders?
That's correct. It's all right. We don't mind the use of failed bidding
Yeah.
because that's a technical term when a lot is up for auction and no bidders submit their bids. So it's all right. It's not a failure of the process per se, but rather it's a description of what transpired during that particular auction lot. Now, regarding the four, you are correct. The auction committee will reconvene. It will recompute the floor prices for the next auction, and the announcement for that will be done in the next 5 days. We are aware that there are some comments online that very dismal collection was done for the 7 instead of the what was expected of breaching the 100 million mark. We are aware of that, but we must remember that failing to the effect of a failure to bid does not end the process. We can go to re-auction. We can adjust the floor prices. You have to consider also that this is our first auction here. The commissioner being appointed only in July, we have learned so many things with respect to the auction process. We also received positive feedback that this is the first time that the full auction process was live streamed and full access to media was given to ensure transparency of the process. So the learnings from this, the 38 million generated, the ability to recalibrate the prices for future auctions, the ability to show the Filipino nation that the BOC can really conduct a process that's fully live streamed, fully transparent. I think that's a win for the Philippines. And if I may add, the statement of Justice Reyes really is relevant, that this is a symbolic start. We should not look at the figure, but rather, even if it's a small figure, rather we should focus on this is a strong message that those who violate the law will eventually become liable under the law. And more than justice, I think the important fact here is that this is the start of restitution, the ability of the Filipino people to recover what was stolen from them.
All right, that's right. Okay, but nonetheless, of course, it's an automobile, regardless if it's a luxury car or an ordinary car. It can be prone for depreciation. So how is the BOC addresses this? Because the longer the vehicle it stays, the lower the price it gets.
That's correct. That's why in the next auction that we will be conducting, sorry, this will be a little technical, but for this auction, the depreciation factor used was 10%. So that's why we arrived at these floor prices. Now, now that the 4 vehicles were resulted to a failed bidding, we are now allowed under the rules to increase that depreciation factor to a maximum of 16%. Now, I don't want to preempt what the committee will do, but they can now recalibrate the floor prices, adjust it so that we can lower it, hoping that we can invite more bidders to participate in the next auction. Now, again, thinking forwards more, if there would be a second failed bidding, there are still remedies available to the state. We can now offer direct offers from interested parties. In other words, there are mechanisms in place. The failure of one auction will not end the process. It's still part of the process. At the end of the day, the BOC will still generate revenue from these.
I see. And just a question, Attorney Bendio. So it's in the auction now. Those cars are in auction now. So the price will remain the same in the next auction?
No, for the 4 that had resulted to failed bidding, the committee will reconvene, and I'm assuming that they will recalibrate the computation of the floor price. As mentioned, they can increase the depreciation factor to as high as 16%. Compared to the 10% that they used for this particular auction. Now, I made some very rough computations here. If assuming we make that 16% straight computation for depreciation for the 4 remaining cars, we would be somewhere above the 19 million mark for the remaining 4. Now, you have to consider that this is really substantial because again, the message here is that we want to maximize possible revenue. So we will leave it to the committee. to determine what would be the best depreciation factor to use.
Mm-hmm.
But just to show you that this is the possibility of reducing the floor prices. We
Mm-hmm.
have to balance it out because if you look at one of the cars, Jerome, one of the Mercedes-Benz, which had a floor price of 7 million, was almost doubled, or in fact beyond doubled, insofar as the winning bid was concerned. So there is still that potential effect in the event that there would be more bidders.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to balance that out. Reduction of floor price to encourage more bidders in the hope that more competition
Mm-hmm.
would raise the prices and the bids some more.
Mm-hmm. All right, and we will watch out for that also, Attorney Bendio. Okay, so my last question before we end. DPWH Secretary Vince Dizon said this efforts or initiatives is only the beginning of recovering stolen public funds. So how is the BOC coordinating with other agencies to ensure that more ill-gotten assets coming out of or from the flood control controversy are seized, auctioned, and returned to the National Treasury?
Well, this is not really just coordination with other government agencies. Our information, our intelligence people would also rely on even other complaints from social media posting. Sometimes, whatever trends, whatever is highlighted by our social media, sometimes that really draws the attention of our intelligence people. So
Mm-mm.
it's not really just interagency coordination. It's just really information that's made available easily and verifiable that would trigger such functions and processes of the BOC to run after ill-gotten wealth. But to emphasize, Jerome, that's really not the mandate of the BOC. Even if, for example, we are able to establish that something is purchased using ill-gotten wealth, the jurisdiction of the BOC is limited to those that are subjected to importation.
Mm-mm.
So let's have that clarity that with respect perhaps to motor vehicles that are imported, the BOC is there.
Mm-mm.
With respect to other properties, perhaps that would be within the jurisdiction of the BIR.
Yeah.
With respect to luxury vehicles, we have the new Assistant Secretary of the LTO, Marcos Lacanilao, very active, sharing of information. So it's really a whole of government approach, a whole of nation approach. Whatever information is brought to the attention of the BOC and it is actionable by the BOC within its mandate, we will surely do that, if only to recover ill-gotten wealth of the Filipino people.
Mm-hmm. All right, and the BOC is ready to take actions if needed by the government agencies. And very well said. And thank you so much. We don't have much time left here in the program. Attorney Chris Bendio, the Deputy Chief of Staff of the Bureau of Customs.
Thank you very much for the opportunity, Jerome. Good morning.
Good morning. And with that, we now conclude this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. But before we go, Radyo Pilipinas World Service is back on shortwave radio after an 8-month hiatus that's reaffirming its commitment to serving Filipinos worldwide with resilient and evolving broadcast services. Radyo Pilipinas World Service, the overseas arm of the Presidential Broadcast Service, Bureau of Broadcast Services, or PBS-BBS, under the Presidential Communications Office, or PCO, suspended its shortwave operations on March 19 of this year. Despite this, it continued to deliver content online without interruption. And the suspension followed a directive from United States President Donald Trump in March 2025 to halt all broadcasts under the United States Agency for Global Media, or USAGM. The order cut federal funding and placed several staff on leave, including those at USAGM Philippines, which hosts the Voice of America facilities responsible for transmitting RP World Service programs via shortwave radio to Filipinos across the globe. Under the leadership of station manager Remigio Sampang, RP World Service sustained its overseas service online, ensuring continuous access for overseas Filipino workers, or OFWs, and seafarers despite technical and logistical challenges. With confirmation from USAGM Philippines, RP World Service is set to resume shortwave broadcasts on December 1, 2025. Its return to shortwave alongside its expanded online presence underscores RP World Service resilience and adaptability. Radio, after all, is not fading, it is evolving. RP World Service stands as a testament to that transformation. And congratulations to Radyo Pilipinas World Service. And we now conclude this edition of Front and Center here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service together with our technical team headed by Milo Junela and our Wirecast. We have Hero Lucero and audio streaming, same Hero Lucero. This is your host, Jerome Toledo. Until next time, mabuhay.
You have just heard and watched Front and Center. Front and Center. Join us again for another edition here on Radyo Pilipinas World Service. Front and Center.